Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful, empowered harmonizers. How are you today? How are you feeling? I hope things are going well for you. Let's zoom in and focus in today on a great viewer question that is to talk about narcissistic rage and narcissistic injury. Narcissistic rage and narcissistic injury are closely connected and related in that a narcissist, because of their pathological sense of self-importance and coupled with a lack of empathy, just if you can understand, it's beyond normal. The amount of attention that they need, people validating them, they don't really have that sort of internal validation within the narcissist. It's all sort of about a big propped up ego, the persona and facade. So the problem with a relationship with a covert narcissist, a malignant narcissist, or a psychopath is what you see is not what you get. This is also known as like an illusion. I mean, the narcissist will continue to cultivate an illusion, a dream-like state. So that's why a lot of feel, the relationship was euphoric. It was, beyond the sublime. It had everything in it that made it a perfect fit. I mean, it fit like a glove. You thought, and especially the physical connection oftentimes is very strong with these people. In that if you find that you're giving and just sort of, in that hyper aroused state, it can become very intense and it can be a real strong physical connection that you might feel. And then so it's to make that connection that, well, if the connection is physical, then the emotional connection must be there. A lot of people just kind of take that for granted or for given. When, the narcissist, if they can just sort of still snag another, in other words, they still are validated by kind of pulling their supply when they're not feeling good, when they're feeling down, when they're not feeling validated, they will oftentimes try to coax people into, who have been with them and then hovering them for supply. And with a narcissist, the rage is really, and then just sort of the narcissistic injury, when something is said that is not congruent with quote unquote their facade, their illusion. In other words, if you expose them, you're not validating the illusion anymore. You're no longer living a lie. You're living in the real. The real can hurt, especially if you've been just sort of on, what oftentimes a relationship with a narcissist, a malignant narcissist or a psychopath. It can also, for the people who are targeted, who are scapegoated, who are supplied, it can also become just sort of a means of escape. Escape meaning, you escape into indulging in the relationship almost like an addiction, almost like a substance, where, in order to, a lot of people want to feel something, so they, at least to feel angry or be in spats with this individual is better than nothing. So they feel that maybe, some result will come out of the narcissistic rage, or just, that sort of, when the mask drops, when you're getting this sort of situation where there's a narcissistic injury. In other words, they're just sort of highfalutin image of themselves, the grandiose aspect we're referring to now. So the grandiose will cause this sort of entitlement and oftentimes to inflict narcissistic injury onto others and then project it. So, narcissistic injury is really what happens when you either challenge them, you call them out, you make a real man or a real woman out of them, and you're seeing where they're really at. You're no longer living a lie. You're no longer just sort of promulgating the illusion or the fantasy. And then the real does not feel as exciting as it's going to create the spontaneity or a lot of that, fantastic physical chemistry, when absolutely there is. It does get better in all departments. I can assure you that. So no worries there. Don't worry about it. And the narcissistic injury that you get oftentimes is just because it's not about you triggering them or being manipulative. You're merely stating your case. And the narcissist, if they have to be held accountable, apologize for something, where they feel, they have to drop their guard down and be seen as just, a regular person despite all, should be very endearing. A lot of people want to know that you're real, and a lot of people get very tired of just sort of the entitlement attitude of the narcissist, even though you might have interpreted this as a strength. It might have been that aspect, that sort of sarcasm, you might have felt to be entertaining, or maybe you thought it was innocent fun. But the narcissistic rage it does not become innocent fun. It becomes a very dark and very low energetic vibration when, it's very threatening. It can feel very intimidating, overwhelmed, because it's just sort of this very harsh and oftentimes very hostile energy that, that is projected or can be just sort of observed by you. You have to understand that is, I think what a narcissist has described it as, they're just sort of having a conversation with themselves. And they don't like that. They want to be surrounded with people who they feel match or are above them in status. So they want to have that sort of ego appearance. They wouldn't, they always want to come to the party with somebody, even if they're not dating. So, they're used to having a lot of shields and a lot of buffers, a lot of protectors. And this gives them a feeling of power, a feeling of control. Yet it becomes very not fun if you're the target of that control, or you're the target of that just sort of power gaminess, where everything genuine, authentic can be made fun of. They'll, make fun of your education, even though it's a wonderful, you're well educated. They edit, people in your family, making jokes of, especially if it's your parents, no, thank you. That's, not tolerable. So you'll find that they will, oftentimes create this trauma bond by crossing over boundaries and into that violation energy. So it does kind of flip the bait and switch, where they might have, sort of had this ego boast or ego grandiosity, but when it comes to others, sort of not supporting of that or going along, being an energetic match, then they get the narcissistic injury. They're now, you're validating them in a real way, which they are uncomfortable with. Remember, these are people who feel oftentimes above the law, above social norms, above protocol, that they don't have to abide by this because they know better, are better, whatever excuses. I don't need to follow it, is what you might often see from them. And they're going to go into what feels like a very immature rage. And then a lot of the mistake, though, is that those individuals who are supply feel that they have triggered this or disappointed the narcissist. And be okay with disappointing them. Be okay with letting them down. Be okay that you're not an energetic match to a narcissist. I mean, this eventually should be good news for you. Even though you might have thought and you were so in love with the idea of the relationship. So you have to realize the difference between the two. And falling in love with the idea of the relationship, and then acknowledging the truth. It's very important for you to get that in a very objective manner, factual manner for yourself. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally, because this is how they inflict and then create sort of this emotional wound on others, and then they feel at least the stronger for it. This is part of the problem. So this can, the narcissistic rage is, when you're not going along with their charades, you're not going along with the shenanigans. You're no longer just a back seat to their life. You're putting your life in the driver's seat. Maybe you haven't been, on your own for a while. Okay, great. Don't worry about it. Be on your own. This is a very important time for you to clean up your ideas of what a true relationship is and get it really solid. Get a very solid grip on it. And just admit, I'm not an energetic match to this type of person, and that is okay. But don't be afraid to challenge your comfort level, and go for, some new types. Open up and just consider, relationships that are going to feel different, and that you're not going to keep encountering this narcissistic rage, where then you resolve and then make up and then it comes again. These relationships are going to cause difficulty for others, but they oftentimes don't cause difficulty for the instigator, for the narcissist or the psychopath. So the problem is then, something that you have to clear your environment of, that has been created. As I always say, life is too short. You don't need any additional problems. If you want problems, go and volunteer in a hospital and see, who doesn't have a fighting chance. See if that can put you into perspective. You got to jog yourself. You got to get yourself out of that rut when it comes to that narcissistic rage, and then receiving a lot of that, because a lot of people receive it as they're the cause, or they feel ineffectual. I think this is the main thing, and I hope you're still with me. It really hurts because it renders others ineffectual in helping them. So they feel inadequate as people. It oftentimes becomes a very real downer emotion, and you feel ineffectual, not effective with them, not effective with life, maybe not effective with your work. So you might really be having a very sort of soggy constitution for a while. Soggy meaning a little emotional, finding where your ground is and claiming it, just like, on the moon, planting your I'm on my feet, and seeing things solid. It's going to take time, because you have to realize the body and all the neurochemicals that are stimulated by the anxiety, by the rage, by that sort of show of aggression. Oftentimes, it makes people really go into a fight or flight, and they haven't seen this, or they didn't see it coming. And this is, they feel very regressed by the narcissistic rage. In other words, it's not an energetic match. You don't want to become skilled at and have this repeat again and again and again, and just numbing out narcissistic rage and narcissistic injury. You should not have to become numb to that. You should be able to be a feeling, sentient, passionate person, and not feel that you're going to have all this these antics where they're going to sort of, stop calling, stop doing the things that you like, get you to chase after them, as if, once again, it's all in the chase. If they are being pursued, they're getting that ego hit. They're like, yep, I've still got it, even from the ones that I have hurt. So to them, it's, the narcissistic rage it can get very ugly. But the problem is, you don't want to receive it and ingest it inside. Realize that the narcissistic rage is sort of flawed thinking on the part of the narcissist. And what you see is the symptom of it. The rage, and it if you don't go around, if you don't follow their charades, their shenanigans, if that's not how you want it, then amen. You've learned something very, very important. That you're not an energetic match to narcissists who go into narcissistic rage and have a problem or overly sensitive with narcissistic injury. You'll always be, walking on eggshells. Maybe they've been quiet for a couple of weeks, and then maybe you think that they've gotten it out of their system. These folks don't get it out of their system. It is their system. So be able to back off and don't continue to re-injure yourself. It's the more you just sort of allow the intrusive thoughts or reoccurring thoughts, to bog you down, in that rage, feeling like, what did I do wrong? Oftentimes is you're asking yourself these questions, and so then the answer's, oh, I did this wrong. Maybe you're trying to correct yourself. Realize that oftentimes that self-correction is a learning process, and there should be a really important takeaway for you from the relationship. And don't feel bad, don't feel guilty, because they have gotten so much from you. You can't feel bad. You just have to allow it, and then just release the grip. Allow it to surrender, and just allow yourself to sort of shake it out after sort of witnessing that, because it will create sort of a fear. Is this going to happen again? Is this going to happen with someone else? So a lot of that is just recycling through your mind to make sure that you have a go-to responsive action, a responsive statement, so you can not be burdened down by that very harsh, oftentimes very profound and very cruel narcissistic rage, where they inflict just sort of cruelty on others. And it's so oftentimes so forceful that people can't, get back on track. They are so distracted and so hurt and feel so threatened by this very important person, which oftentimes, like John Bradshaw, he talks about having an over idealized, image or, vision of them. So it can, in the beginning, especially the love bombing, why it's so difficult is because you have this very, idealized image of them. And then it can swing then to the great degraded, but then where is really the truth for you? And don't be ashamed or embarrassed to say, you know what, I deserve better. I just deserve the real thing. And that's what this is all about. Be able to make statements to yourself that are conclusive in nature, so you will feel you've got some answers, you're focused on the solution, you're allowing your feet to start the walking, even though your mind might continue to censor you, let your body do some of the talking, and especially the healthy talk, the healthy walk, the healthy get together with friends, the healthy TV show that you had a couple laughs at. This will help you to feel better. So if you're feeling down, and still, pop yourself out of that and just begin to get your feet walking, start writing, do something to sort of assist it, to facilitate it, to get out of your system. Because if you don't, then you can arrive in a very apathetic state, meaning you don't really care anymore. You feel like you've given up. I mean, this is throwing in the towel. Don't give the narcissist the win or the psychopath. Know better for yourself. This is your better. This is your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. And please share your experience and be supportive of others in the community, because really that is so important, is support of others who have been through this. Not everybody gets it, understands it. They think, oh, there's a million fish in the sea, you'll get over it. They don't understand the emotional complexity and then the lessons learned that are very severe, that are important for you. Maybe not the next guy or the person who's still in the grandiose vision of them, but meaning that you don't have to be on the bandwagon. You don't have to follow the illusion. Follow the real. The real will give you the reward, and go for the real reward. This is your buddy once again. Peace out. Have a beautiful day.